The new Dragon Age game has come a long way, spent almost 10 years in development hell and was restarted more than once. And we all know how games stuck in development hell end up. Remember Skull and Bones? No? Don't worry, no one does.
Not funny.
Dragon Age games have always had an uphill battle. Many elements changed from game to game, but in the end, Thedas survived. How is it this time?
Awkward.
Dragon Age the Dreadwolf, later the Veilguard, was supposed to be a haste-based game, later changed into multiplayer live service, but after the Anthem's disaster, EA probably forced BioWare to scrap the multiplayer element and focus on single-player experience. Echoes of previous ideas still linger in the new game. Dragon Age looks like a game made from two different games. There will be spoilers. Maybe I start with the positives. Character creator is great. You can have some fun with it. At least, if you are not one of those people who lose it because of some scars and pronouns. The combat system is different from the previous games. Whether it's better or worse depends on individual preferences. My opinion concerns only how it was executed. Fights are entertaining and require you to learn combos, use them together with companions' abilities to make more powerful attacks. In higher difficulties, you really need to understand the system to fight efficiently. I love that my mage does something more than standing in one place and throwing fireballs. Skill tree is transparent and easy to understand. Also, you are free to experiment. You can change your skills at any time and try a different combination. You can strengthen your skills with rings, amulets, or other equipment. It's fine. There are different types of bosses. Of course, many of them are dragons. Like Dragon Age, so obviously there are dragons. All dragons move in the same way, which is a problem if you fight so many of them. They have different elemental powers. Some of them have minions. You can fight two dragons in one fight, or fight a dragon alone. So they tried to make every fight entertaining and a bit different. After a few dragon fights, I did feel a bit bored. But in general, I'm not complaining. Okay, maybe in this case, making a demon boss dragon was lazy. The game looks pretty, the views are nice, different interesting environments, some secrets here and there. I didn't like the NPC's art style. Faces look strange, so smooth. But after a few hours, I got used to them. Except the Qunari, they just look weird. Writing is very important to me, especially in games when I spend almost 100 hours. Simple, clear stories are fine, but from a game rated 18+, I expected a mature level of writing. But let's start from the beginning.
You've got fighting and romance. What more do you need?
Well, lots of things, really. A plot, pacing, that sort of thing.
The story is simple. You have two bad guys you need to defeat before they destroy the world. You, Varric, Hardin, and Nev find solace and disturb his ritual. As a consequence, two ancient elven gods escape from their prison. They are not only powerful, but also control Blight. You need to gather your team, gather other allies, and fight with gods. Okay, I don't have a problem with simple stories. What I have a problem with is that Elgenan and Gillanay are painfully blunt. Their motivation? World domination, power, control, making monsters. They are evil to the core and leave no room for doubts. We are constantly shown more bad things they do. You can get a bit of personality and ideology from Elgenan at the end of the game.
All I saw was a tyrant, destroying everything he touches.
You mistake discipline for cruelty, a failing among those who lack a master's gentle guidance.
Too little, too late. And of course, their followers are all evil, no nuances. Their minions are Venatori and Antam. Why would Tevinter supremacists fight on behalf of ancient elves, whose people they regard as fit only for slavery and sacrifice? Power. Just that, power. Their ideology doesn't matter anymore. The Venatori cult has no defining characteristics. They are just a bunch of nameless mustache-twirling villains.
I know who they are, what they look like, all of that. But I can't figure out the why.
Why what?
Why they do it.
I don't understand why the devs wrote it like that. Venatori after Dragon Age Inquisition can be an easy target for Elganon. Broken, lost, unsure about their beliefs. You can write a really interesting story about it from a religious perspective. Dragon Age fans are accustomed to such themes. In Blood of Arlatan's quest, you can learn that Elganon can come to your mind and make promises, offering comfort. So, can he influence Venatori? He tries to influence you and your companions in this quest.
Dear child, you were born into obscurity. Sorrow etched on your bones. I see you. I feel your pain.
He's making promises, tempting me.
And in the ending sequence,
There are things I would have of you, Rook. Draw closer. You will learn what they are.
Elganon again.
Just more talk.
but you and your companions refuse to listen to him. You know, only bad guys can be influenced by him. Good guys do not fall for his trap. He doesn't try to influence any good factions or characters. So, none of this was really important.
Oh.
Antam also are followers of elven gods. For what reason? Oh, I remember. For power. In the game, someone, I think it was Hardin, told Rook that maybe Antam don't like magic, but for power anyone can change their mind. You can find a note for Antam soldiers about their fear of magic. Don't be afraid. Venatori gives us more power. We don't follow Kyun anymore. Great. Very good writing. Of course, Antam don't follow Kyun. But we don't get any information about their new ideology, rules, morals. Nothing.
No, wait! I have more questions!
By the way, you tell me now that Venatori don't have any problem working with Antam, the cult, the supremacists, with Antam, the same Antam that is a threat for the Tevinter Imperium?
Didn't take the gods long to attract support from all the worst people in Thedas.
They're offering power to anyone who wants it. The Venatori and Antam won't question what it will cost.
Why do ancient elven gods not want to have elves as followers? Okay, you know what? Whatever, I don't care. So, we don't have much information about Elganon's morals and beliefs. Just control, domination, blah blah blah. What about Ghilanei? Ghilanei is the mother of Hala, changed by Andruil into the first Hala according to Elven's myth. She was a mage. Andruil made her one of Evanuris. Ghilanei was Andruil's beloved. She created monsters and beautiful creatures. In the Codex, you can read Sola's letter to Ghilanei. This letter shows much more depth to Ghilanei's personality and story than any scene in the game. In the game, we have just a mad fantasy scientist who creates dangerous monsters. Why not have some quest reveal her story, her love for Andruil? Does she want her back? What does she do to take her back? Why does she use Blight? How did she become a monster herself? Why? When did this start? Did she decide to use Blight by herself? Or maybe someone ordered her to do this? What is her end goal? Was she okay with the killing of the Halas? You can get some information about Andruil and Ghilanei from other stories, like the Tevinter Nights, but it would be nice to get some summary here. This game is about Gillanay, so give me something.
She gave me nothing.
We have a gallery of villains who are connected to companions. Like the main villains, most of them are evil to the core, and of course, they work for the gods. Why? I don't know, for power or something. For some of them, working with gods doesn't make much sense. Like Hezenkos. But whatever. At least everything leads to a big culmination, which is actually pretty good. Ending sequence is dynamic, dark and intense. We have a few endings with different outcomes, which is good. It's obvious that the battleistic scenes are much better than the rest, like they belong to a different game. I wish the rest of the game was more like this. Some of the villains are okay, other...
Awkward.
Isaiah is an okay villain. She's a tragic, fallen hero who hates Grey Wardens for what they forced her to do during the Fourth Blight. She was forced to blight the Griffins to make them stronger but also more aggressive, so Wardens then hunt them almost to extinction. Now she's the Gloomhowler. She kidnapped the Griffins to protect them. This is a nice story, full of emotions. But the ending is a bit anticlimactic. In the end, you can show her the feather of her griffin, then she apologizes, then rolls over and dies? In contrast, we have the Dragon King. Dude had a few minutes to introduce himself, then he died off screen. We don't even fight with him. Just another dragon. Lucani's nemesis, Ilaria, is a terribly written character.
You play the alluring hero? I know Treviso. If we have a tale, I have a better chance of distracting their interest.
People don't talk like this.
Cousin, stop. You can't dwell on this. It'll drive you mad.
Please, stop. And we have Zara Renata, another Elizabeth Bathory wannabe. She doesn't have any characteristic or personality apart from being comically evil. Treviso has one okay villain, but he has only one scene. I am talking about the Butcher. Listen to him.
I said Treviso was the trap, and I meant it. The jewel of Antiva. She sings even while caged. Such purity in every stone. It's trapped my heart. I love this city.
He's a perfect villain. He's terrifying.
The gods, they give strength. But all they ask in return is everything. I can feel their corruption. I can hear their whispers.
He has an interesting personality. He's way better than this clown. I should mention Hezenkos. I love her. She's so campy.
All have a place in my heart. And tonight you will fuel my ascension at the cost of your miserable lives.
She has a special place in my heart. Honestly, I've never been a huge Dragon's Age fan. I played the old games, but never treated them as more than entertainment. But I really like the world building. The dynamics between different groups have been well thought out. Thedas is a dark place. We have discrimination, racism, and religious fanatics. A part of the story has always been about people struggling against oppressive systems and institutions. You, as a main character, can sometimes support the systems of oppression, criticize, or fight with them. Every group has its own valid points and things for which it can be criticized. The cult of Andraste is the dominant religion in Thedas. The core of Andrastianism is to spread their belief to all races. When all peoples have accepted the chant, the Maker will return, so naturally, Other religions are treated like a problem. The Chantry has a lot of political power, censors books, and shapes the culture, and this affects the way other races and groups are treated. Mages are seen as a danger. They are responsible for Maker's departure. Their connection to fate is dangerous, so mages are forced to leave their family and live in towers guarded by Templars. Those towers are an introvert's nightmare. City elves are second-class citizens, no matter if they also worship Andraste. Dalish elves isolate themselves from humans, cultivate their old religion, and live in nomadic clans. They can be violent towards humans. The dwarves have a caste system in Orzammar. If you were born in a low caste, you have a really low chance to get a good life. And we have the Great Wardens, the symbol of Dragon Age. They fight the Blight, they have the ability to kill archdemons, but the price is high. Grey Wardens accept everyone, even criminals. Grey Wardens recruit from the poor, city elves and castless dwarves. For many, joining is the only way to gain respect, achieve something. The joining ritual kills many prospective recruits. The fact that recruits don't know that they have to drink tainted, darkspawn blood is really awful. If a recruit refuses to drink the blood, they are immediately killed to protect the Warden's secret. We know that from Dragon Age origin. The Grey Wardens have a lot of grey areas.
Not funny.
You get the point. It's complicated. No one is pure and innocent. Social economical situations can play a big role in how individual cultures work, which make the world more realistic and interesting to explore. So, how does all of this look like in Dragon Age Veilguard?
Oh, that's not good. Not even a little bit.
Well, it disappeared. The social tensions between various groups are ignored. Now everyone lives in peace together. They are all helpful and nice. Except the bad guys. Bad guys just kick puppies and want power. I feel like the writers are scared that the audience won't understand any nuances. Dalish elves aren't isolated and distrustful like before. We meet Veil Jumpers, which is a new group specialized in retrieving ancient artifacts from Arlatan Forest. They were founded by elves, but for some crimes against narrative reason, they accepted everyone in the ranks. Among Jumpers, we find not only elves, but also humans and Qunari. I am confused about Veil Jumpers' knowledge about gods. They know their gods are evil, no question.
Mathalanast.
The elven gods of old, the Evan-Urus.
If they truly have returned,
Then things just got a whole lot worse.
Like how? Solas knows that, obviously, but they aren't his agents. What happened? Why don't they question anything? Is it because Morrigan? I don't know. Elves are slaves, second-category citizens, and you tell me none of them, even for a moment, considered that siding with the gods might be the better choice?
For Naris. For our people.
No, you don't count. You sided with the lamest god. Also, what's with the Valaslin? We know from the last game that their tattoos were slave markings, signs of ownership, used by noble elves, not a symbol of patronage of the gods. Veilguard would be a good place to talk about it. You know, Strife has a tattoo connected to Andruil, the Huntress. This goddess who bound their slaves to magical words that were supposedly defending Arlatan Forest. In reality, the energy was being siphoned from Andruil's personal empowerment. From the game, we can learn that now everyone can have Valaslin.
The Valaslin are sacred for the elves. I didn't grow up Dalish, but they're not the only ones who have a claim on being elven.
Do city elves and their culture exist? My first character was the Lodge of Fortune elven mage. I wasn't Dalish. which was confirmed in dialogue, and still there wasn't unique dialogue for city elves. Everyone assumes that I know Dalish culture. There are only 1 or 2 dialogue options denying Rook's belief in elven gods. No one cares that you are an elf. You can go to Minratos and you don't hear any slurs. If Rook is a Shadow Dragon elf, they were adopted by a military family. Because of this, they had to pretend they were just a servant. So, some discrimination against elves is still there. Probably. A small detail. In one dialogue, Hardin talks about how elves are treated in Ferelden.
Elves have enough trouble as it is down in Ferelden.
Do they assume that only Ferelden has a discrimination problem? Grey Wardens are portrayed by Davrin, Efka, Antoine, and the First Warden. You can talk with Davrin about Grey Wardens and sacrifice.
When the storm comes, you don't want farmers and florists fighting archdemons. It takes the wrong sort to put the world right.
His personal quests show the darker side of Wardens. Efka and Antoine's questline gives more information about the Blight. Like that, the Wardens can hear the Blight and can potentially be influenced by it. We learn that a blighted region can be saved. Okay, it's something. I know that some fans have a problem with how the Blight is portrayed and all changes. But for me, it's fine. It's actually interesting. I like that at the end of Efka and Antoine's questline, you can see a region full of flowers. Oh, I forgot one thing. What the fuck is this? Flynn is a medic you can find in Hosberg wetlands, who gives you a small quest. After you complete it, you can talk about the Blight and Great Wardens. You learn that Flynn passed the Warden's ritual, but didn't join.
They let me take the Warden joining ritual. It saved my life, and gave me Warden abilities.
Does that mean you're a Grey Warden?
It should mean I have no choice. The joining ingredients are rare. If that First Warden had found me... Evka and Antoine said I'm welcome, but they're happy to see me continue as I am.
But the rule? The calling? And we have Antivan Crows. Dark guild of assassins, who brainwash children, force them to fight to death against one another, make perfect, emotionless assassins, who do everything to fulfill contract. Well, not anymore. Now it is a group of goody two-shoes freedom fighters, who really care about the well-being of Treviso citizens. I don't believe I said it. It sounds ridiculous. But here we are. We don't have any hard talks about Crow's methods. Sometimes Lucanis or other NPC mention something about contracts, but nothing specific. And by some magical twist of fate, victims are always the bad people. Rook can't even express doubts about their intention. What's funnier, you meet one Treviso politician. Of course, he stands against the Crows, so obviously he is evil. Jacobus is a young boy who you can save from Antam. If you complete Antivan Crow's quests, he will fund a new crow house and will accept orphans.
I want to find others like me. Orphans. People with no more homes, under a new house name. Neri suggested Igrativi. It's old Trevisan, sort of a grateful life.
And this is shown as a good thing. I don't want more brainwashed orphan assassins on the streets. At this point, I am just tired. Move on. Shadow Dragons are the underground group who free the slaves, help Dorian to push some progressive laws in the Magisterium. Sometimes they do some dirty work, but we don't see it in the game. What a shame. Shadow Dragons should be a faction with morally grey choices, but of course, they are not. Unfortunately, we don't have much content about slavery situation in Tevinter. The topic is barely brought up, and when it is, it looks like only Venatori keeps slaves. It looks like devs throw every bad thing on the Venatori.
Nice try. The Venatori rise.
What is the point of having the anti-slavery faction if you reduce conversation about it to a few dialogues and short codex entries? There is only one quest where you help kidnapped people. The mercenaries want to sell them to Venatori for their blood ritual. We don't have any quest line dedicated to fighting slavery, saving slaves. It is a dock town. It's a perfect place to create a story about destroying some slaves' quarters and ships, which they used to transport people to other regions. In Dragon Age 2 we have Fenris and his story, a couple other slaves we can save and Trevinter slavers to defeat. If devs don't want to bring this topic up, then why don't have Dorian convince the magistrates and slavery is over? Now Shadow Dragons fight only with Venatori. It would make much more sense. The Morn Watch serve as the keepers of the Grand Necropolis. They also deal with corpse possessions, evil necromancers, and everything related to death. I like this idea. I like the necromancers are not just an evil group, but people who care about the dead and spirits, and want to learn and explore this field. Grand Necropolis serves two purposes, as a place to learn and the sacred repository of the dead. I like the idea of the liches being protectors of this place. But like every other factions, there is a lack of moral dilemmas and deep conversation about how far you can go in your research. Rook has only a few options to show concern about all of this. Still, conversation with Emmerich about death are fine, and the concept of the Mornwatch looks solid. I think Rook with the Mornwatch background is fun to play. Wait, maybe there's one major problem here. What about religion? Nevarra is supposed to follow the cult of Andraste, but it is not confirmed in the game. It looks like the Mornwatch follows some undefined rules and rituals, which don't belong to any religion. The Lords of Fortune and Rivani aren't important at all. You don't learn much about them. I think it exists in the game only because of the arena. You can only learn about how they operate.
Feel free to use the ancient Elven artifacts for weight training, but nothing leaves with you, okay?
Don't worry about that. The Lords of Fortune aren't thieves.
I mean, aren't you, though?
Nah. Anything we hunt is salvage. Old forgotten ruins and crap. And we make sure we're not screwing over a culture that lost it.
And Shiv doesn't mind your people robbing Dalish tombs?
We don't rob tombs. Only assholes rob tombs. We rob old armories and crap.
This is the lamest adventurous guild in the history of RPG. I saved Isabel from Arishok for this. None of these factions is in conflict with one another. They fight evil. They are good. They believe in everything you say. Except this guy, but he doesn't matter.
How do we know we can even trust you?
Imagine a story where you try to get the factions together, but you need to fight with the gods' influence and resolve conflicts between factions, or even choose which factions you side with. Plus some moral dilemmas. Stretch your morals and get help from not so good factions for the greater good, or stay strong with your beliefs. Maybe some faction will betray you. Want some examples? Whale Jumpers try to retrieve important Dalish artifacts, but the Lords of Fortune get them first and want to sell them to a rich collector. What do? Antivan Crows have a contract from Venatori to assassinate the Shadow Dragon's leader. You need to choose between Antivan Crows and Antivan nobles. Maybe change the power structure in Antiva, or maybe sacrifice a Shadow Dragon for Trevinter magistrate help. Mornwatch go too far with their experiments, but give you more power to fight with the gods. Give me some drama. In my first playthrough, I have chosen Lords of Fortune Elf Mage. It was for a specific reason. I was planning to roleplay as a free-spirit, selfish adventurer who doesn't care about elven history or gods, just gold and glory. But I can't. Your background gives you a few lines here and there, and sometimes some special dialogue. It's a nice flavor, but this doesn't change the fact that you can't build different personalities for your characters. You are a generic good guy. Deal with it.
Just like that.
Rook's morals and worldview are established by the writers. Dragon Age the Veilguard doesn't give you any real choice in the dialogue, only the illusion of choice. You can be super nice, try to be snarky or funny nice, or piffy nice, sometimes crybaby nice, and angry nice. It's your only tool to make a personality for your characters. Honestly, I'm not evil or even mean in games in general. Except for Baldur's Gate 3. The Dark Age playthrough wakes up something in me. But generally, I am a good hero. Most gamers are.
You're not very good at being evil. I'll work on it.
But this doesn't mean that evil, bad, rude options aren't important. They are vastly important.
Oh.
They give you choices. You choose to be good. Without those options, what you do doesn't matter. Your persona in the game ceases to exist. It works both directions. Evil decisions have much more impact on you when you know you could have chosen differently.
That checks out.
Oh, I forgot about romance options. If you feel like it, you can pick cringy, flirty, nice dialogue options. I am confused by those flirty options. On the one hand, many of those lines aren't flirty at all. Just some lines about, you're not alone, we do it together.
I don't like leaving you alone with a demon.
Something you can say to your friends to show support.
You gonna drag me down to the deep roads?
I will absolutely drag you with me wherever I look for answers.
Or just to be kind.
You have a very charming way of putting things.
Well, thank you.
On the other hand, some lines are really suggestive and awkward.
I like a hunt with some challenge to it.
What's your quarry?
I'm thinking a Grey Warden, maybe an elf, maybe both. I can't decide.
Your companions sometimes respond and sometimes completely ignore them.
And yet, I'm still here.
We need to talk about Ilario.
This is weird, unrealistic. I don't feel any progress in relationships. Sometimes those flirty lines are placed in really strange moments.
You choose the most extraordinary moments for compliments.
It looks like devs added romance 5 minutes before releasing the game. In my opinion, the approval-disapproval system doesn't do anything. Even when your companion greatly disapproves, you don't have any special dialogue or any other consequences. Disapproval doesn't lock quests or romances. If you progress the companion's personal quest, you end up besties. To be fair, one choice in the game between towns has some consequences. But that's it. At first, the game's title was Dragon Age the Dreadwolf, but later devs changed it to the Veilguard to shift focus to the companions. Your family, the heart of the game. Well, this game has a heart attack for sure. Companions are one of the weakest elements of the game. Most of them are underdeveloped and kind of boring. They don't look like complete characters. There are maybe 3 characteristic traits per companion. A huge problem is a lack of interaction with companions outside their questlines. Rook can't just go to their companion's room and talk with them about life. You can only interrupt conversation between them. Codex entries give more information about companions than their scenes. This is a huge problem. Codex should be just a supplement to put all information in order, not to explain motivation and story.
Oh.
All companions have similar worldviews, no matter their background. There are no cultural or social differences between them. You can't hear in dialogue how your relationship progresses. They speak the same way no matter who they talk to. Companions are extremely nice. They become friends almost immediately. They have a book club, a party, and regularly meet each other. And no one invites Rook. I think they secretly hate Rook. I only like Davrin and Emmerich. Maybe Bellara too. Bellara is just adorable, and I can't say bad things about her. Emmerich is an interesting character, but still doesn't have much depth. Davrin is the only character who actually asks me important questions. He is the only adult in this team. Davrin has some good lines here and there. Davrin and Asan deserve a better game. Technically, Rook's team consists of characters from different factions, so naturally there should be conflicts between them. But no. There are some minor quarrels between companions, but they are resolved very quickly and don't have any impact on companions' behavior. This doesn't make any sense, especially in Lucani's case. He has a demon inside, who sometimes take control over him, but only Davrin is concerned about it.
This crow has a demon inside him, right?
Now, that's not...
How do we know we can trust him? Maybe the demon pulled his punches.
Why are Nev and Emmerich fine with it? They should know best how dangerous demons are. What more, he's a mage killer, but mages don't have a problem with it. On the other side, Venatori mages experimented on Lucanis, but he held no grudge against mages. I played a mage, so you can imagine my disappointment. I miss my regular fight with Fenris in Dragon Age 2. Tash is a Kunari. Kyun is important for their mother, and Tash learned much about it. But no one feels uncomfortable about how Kunari mages are treated. What does Tash and their mother think about mages? We don't know. Bellara is a Dalish elf, so she is supposed to be careful and keep distance. But no! She's the biggest fan of Nevgala, the Tevinter mage. On the other side, Nev grew up in Tevinter, but she has no prejudice against other races. We learn that the Blight is a Titan's dream. Harding's quest takes us to the Titan's heart. Literally. And Davrin doesn't have anything to say? Like, no one thinks about trying to destroy the heart to end the Blight? Destroying everything that's left from the Titan should stop the Blight, right? Of course, companions have their own quests, some problem with they're struggled with. You need to help them. They tell you that more than once.
Until those problems are resolved, we will not be prepared to face the gods.
Our arguments, our personal problems, it's as Emmerich says. They hold us back.
We won't stop the gods while other worries weigh us down.
All companions' quests have the same structure. Your companion has some nemesis who reflects them. Lucanis, Ilario. Nev, Aelia. Davrin, Isaiah. Emmerich, Hezenkos. Tash, the Dragon King. Bellara, Syrian. Hardin, Lyrium Angry Hardin. The Nemesis are trying to do the same things as the companions, but in an evil way, so they must be stopped. Emmerich wants to be a lich, which is good. Hezenkos wants to be a lich, but she is selfish and immoral. Davrin wants to protect griffins, and Isaiah wants to protect griffins, but she's doing it wrong. Nev protects Dogtown, and Elia wants to be a protector of Dogtown, but uses blood magic, so she is evil. Bellara cares about the Dalish, and Syrian cares about the Dalish, but he decided to side with the evil forgotten god. Tash is a dragon slayer, and the Dragon King is a dragon slayer, but he's doing it for power, and he uses blight. Harding's nemesis is just an angry Hardin, lyrium manifestation. It's not a bad trope, but in some cases it is executed badly, and it's too much. Honestly, I enjoy Emmerich's quests. I enjoy Emmerich's character, exploring Grand Necropolis and the spooky mansion in his quests. The aesthetics, the dialogues, Manfred, the enemies are so campy, and the creators know it and play with it, so it's fun. Look at this giant glowing skeleton. It's perfect. I can't say the same thing about Lucani's questline. I hate every aspect of this questline. Ilario is obviously Mr. Backstabber, and you know this from the first scene. Of course, Lucanis, Viago and Theia are clueless, which is frustrating. At first I thought it was a joke, but I guess not. It looked like the writers didn't see how ridiculously bad it is. All those Crow Godfather moments are cringe, and the scene with Katerina's ashes...
But first I need the ashes.
Ashes?
Make it help us. Yes, the ashes. Katerina's ashes. From the cremation?
Oh, yes, of course. I'll get them to you right away.
It's so bad. Oh, and Katerina isn't dead. Who can guess?
Katerina.
Lucanis.
And in the end, you don't even kill the traitor. Your two options are imprison him or let him go. Because family. Maybe Zevran was just overdramatic.
Too much to forgive. But he's still all I've got.
Bellara's questline also frustrates me. They use her side quest to introduce one of the forgotten ones, Anaris. So, thanks to him, we learn more about... Oh, and he died. At least we save Bellara's brother, so he can explain... Oh, he died as well. So yeah, move on. Your companions don't change much during the game. They don't grow. You can't challenge their worldview. Rook doesn't really resolve companions' problems or traumas, rather assist them. They resolve their problem themselves. You just help to kill bad guys and provide moral support. Bellara never wanted to side with Anaris. Nev didn't make any compromises. Emmerich never wanted to side with Hezenkos. Dowry never lost faith in the Great Wardens. You don't have any hard conversations, they don't have any doubts. You can't resolve their issue in a different way than by killing the bad guys. At some point of the quest lines, you can choose one of two options, which look important, but are not. Those options don't change the companion's behavior. They are still exactly the same people. In my opinion, Rook shouldn't choose from those two options. It looks strange, unnatural. The companions should choose what they want. You, as a player, can only influence them by dialogue or other choices in the game. For example, Tash chooses Rivani or Kunari based on your conversation with them about culture and identity. Darwin chooses where to send Griffins based on how his attitude toward Grey Warden developed. But this would require better writing and dialogue options that truly differ from one another, rather than just pretending to. I mentioned that companions are underdeveloped and have 2, maybe 3 characteristics. What's worse, those character traits are not sufficiently explored. Nev's personality is Minratus. Every interaction with her revolves around one topic, Minratus. She is a noir detective, but we don't have any noir-type quests. Nev solves a case alone. You can only stand around. Wasted potential. She's a Tevinter mage, a member of the Shadow Dragons, but we don't have any conversation about her culture or politics. Dorian from Inquisition has his Tevinter attitude. He had some reflection about slavery and politics, which make him interesting. Lucanis is an assassin, mage killer. He has a demon inside and he is afraid to sleep because of the demon. And what? Nothing. We don't have any hard conversation about his job or morals.
Then Lucanus owes me one about this contract on a Bronto.
Mierda. That Bronto.
His whole personality is coffee. He drinks a lot of coffee. He uses it to stay awake. But it is not like this is a big problem. He isn't an addict. He just likes coffee. And he tells you this all the time. It must have required a lot of talent to make an assassin with a demon inside so fucking boring. We have few scenes about coffee, but any scene dedicated to body autonomy, possession, self-control, revenge, freedom. You have a little bit of content about PTSD in the dream vision sequence, but it is not enough.
His mind is still here. He wants to stay here, so he keeps me here!
Mierda! Why would I want to stay? Even in my head, this place is a nightmare.
Right, but it's a nightmare you already defeated. I get it now. As bad as the ossuary was for you, it was better than the alternative.
It's wild that Lucani starts some kind of friendship with the demon. The incarnation of hate. How can I treat him seriously? Tash gets too much criticism, and Lucanis too little.
Smells like Lucanis.
Just try it.
Lucanis' coffee obsession,
If you need more coffee, I'll make it.
and his focus on family values look like stereotypes. Stereotypical Italian man. With a Spanish accent.
Mierda.
He even cooks. Plus, the Godfather references. Treviso reminds me of Venice. I know that some fans explain this as a mix of Spanish and Italian cultures to create something new. I disagree. There's nothing new or interesting here. It's just ignorance. Devs see Spanish and Italian cultures as the same, but they are very different. Also, people don't talk like this.
Please, you think I'd ever pass up Cafe Pietra's coffee? You see, Rook, my cousin is all stomach and no heart.
Don't mind him. Ilario cannot appreciate anything but himself.
Tash is a great example of we know what, but we don't know how.
Hey.
Tash is non-binary. Tash tries to find out what they are and at some point tell it to their mother. But Rook doesn't accompany Tash on this journey. Tash figure out the non-binary stuff themselves, off-screen. First, Nev told them about some group in Minratos.
Some of my friends in Minrathas talk about not feeling comfortable in their own skin. As a man, as a woman. I could see if they'd like to talk. Maybe what they say fits how you're feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
Then Tash announced to Rook their new pronouns.
Who is the real Tash?
She is... They are... not a woman. Or a man.
And done. The rest of the questline is about their issue with their mother and her expectation towards Tash. I should mention that the scene when Tash sits down and say to their mother, "I'm non-binary," is actually good and realistic. Many people at some point just want to spew it and face the music. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about the push-up scene. But it is not because of the push-ups. It's because of everything around it. Conversation looks painfully unnatural and forced. The big, I guess, choice is between Rivani and Kunari. It makes sense in theory. Tash lives in Rivani, but their mother tries to raise them in Kunari culture. But the writing flopped again. Writers failed to fairly portray both cultures. Kunari are shown as bad and dangerous.
My mother put these ropes on me. She tied me up. Why did she do that?
And we know barely anything about Rivani. And the writers don't answer the questions like, what makes this choice important? Why does Tash need to choose? Is this choice between two cultures, or between Tash's freedom and their mother's expectations? What happened with Don't Tell Me Who I Am?
From Ravane. Not like I follow the Cune.
You've got the arm ropes.
Sure. I wear a lot of stuff. You don't get to tell me who I am.
Something important is missing here. Another important part of Tash's character is that they know a lot about dragons and care deeply for them, but the writers don't do anything with it. No deep conversation about dragons and how they got this knowledge. In return, you got a silly conversation about puzzles and how lame Lord of Fortune really are. And worst of all, their quest is only about killing two dragons. Why not learn more about them? Save a dragon's egg, pet a little dragon. I don't want to fight a generic dragon again. Give me more lore about dragons. I am disappointed. Dragon Age never gives dragons enough lore. So, in my opinion, Dragon Age the Veilguard is a soft reboot. Devs didn't want to make a game in Dragon Age universe. Like I mentioned before, the dynamics between different groups are removed. They destroy Ferelden and Free Marches, literally, so they won't need to worry about the political and economic status of those lands.
I thought the gods were mostly active up here. It's really that bad in the south.
Elganon and Gillenane have indeed restricted their activities to the north. But the forces they deployed to the south, the strange new Darkspawn, have spread fear and corruption greater than any blight in history.
Darkspawn have cut through the center of Orlais. Valrorio and Halam Shiral are barely holding out. Ferelden would have fallen already, if not for help from Orzammar. With Denerim lost, the Fereldans are holding the line at Redcliffe. The Free Marches have the worst of it. Acting Viscount Aveline Valen led the evacuation of Kirkwall. She's taking her people and what's left of her army to help Prince Vale keep Starkhaven.
The Blight works differently now, so they can do with it whatever they want. Qunari culture is built on lies, and there is some forgotten knowledge.
How did they forget everything the tablets said? How did they lose so much?
I assume Qunari will become completely different in the next game. If there will be another game. Everything works differently now. This means also that Great Warden don't die after killing the Archdemon. Solas also can kill the Archdemon and doesn't die as well. But okay, he's a god, so fine. God's power, I guess. Also, at the end, Blight magically disappears from Nev. How? Never mind. The characters who returned in the story serve merely as vehicles driving the plot forward rather than fully-fledged people. And of course, devs answered all the questions. There is no mystery anymore. Now we know the full story of elven gods and even meet the one of forgotten ones. We know what happened to Titans and learn the origin of the Blight, the Titan's dream. The secret ending shows that the executors become the main force in the future game.
They interrupt, as predicted, as expected, as hoped.
I really don't want to talk about the big reveal that the executors impacted Thedas' history. Past events like Logain's betray, Red Delirium Idol, or Corfeush becoming the first Darkspawn. I hate this type of plot twist. So move on. I think the writers have one idea for the plot. Rituals. I swear, everything in this game is about some unspecified ritual. First, you disturbed Solas' ritual. Then the gods have their own ritual in Arlatan Forest. Then another ritual on Tearstone Island to create a new dagger. Side quests? Stop Anari's ritual. Stop Isaiah's ritual. Stop Aelia's ritual. Stop Hezenko's ritual. In other cases, Rook arrives just in time to save some hostages or see how they die.
Oh.
It's not that everything is poorly written. I want to emphasize that some scenes and dialogues are well written. The scenes with Varric are well designed. You can notice that the characters ignore him, interrupt him, and he always stands on the sidelines. It would be better if we could accompany Rook and Varric earlier and see how their friendship develops. Why is Varric so important to Rook? The defense of Wastehouse is pretty good. I really like it and had a lot of fun playing. Individual scenes are dynamic, a lot of things happened. First you meet Mila, she helps you navigate the base. Then the first warden shows up. It's a good scene, it's fast, everyone looks nervous. Then boom, you are in the middle of the fight again. But now you have a clear task. Later the first warden slowed down action, which is okay. But it looks much better if he says the warden's vow while walking to speed up the scene. I just imagine Gillanay hiding in Archdemon and shuffling her tentacles. Then another boom, the Archdemon isn't dead. Now you fight some snake hydra-like monster. This is fun, I really enjoy it. I like the twist. Then when you defeat the monster, Rook just yells to Davrin to kill it. And this is great, the stress, the fear that something worse will come next, so you want to end this as fast as you can. I like the ending sequence too. You choose different companions for individual tasks. Scenes are dynamic. Then you have a small break, cool down, then go to the last sequence. It's fun. In general, battleistic scenes look better and are much better written than scenes with companions and their questline. Dragon Age the Veilguard is not a terrible, unplayable game. You can have fun playing, but if you skip it, you don't miss anything.
I'm not angry. I'm only disappointed.
No. That's worse.